Ever picture yourself, walking through fields, like sun on your face, maybe getting your hands a little dirty, but all for, like, science.
Yeah.
Well, get ready, because on today's deep dive, we're going to dig into becoming an agricultural technician.
And you know what? It's a lot more high-tech than people think.
Oh, yeah?
We're looking at the RoleCatcher guides on this one, and right away you can tell this isn't your grandparents' farm anymore.
You're telling me, I was thinking, like, overalls and pitchforks, but this is some serious cutting-edge stuff.
Yeah.
It's all drones and sensors, and they're using all this data to figure out how we grow food. It's pretty wild.
Exactly. It's not just planting and harvesting anymore. It's like optimizing the whole system.
Whoa, yeah.
Thinking about sustainable agriculture, responsible aquaculture. It's this whole mix of science and actually solving problems in the real world.
And speaking of solving problems, the guide mentions how diverse the work actually is. Like,
Right.
one day you're out in the field, the next you're in a lab analyzing data. It almost sounds kind of idyllic.
Well, let's keep it real. The guide does talk about the good stuff, working with nature, being at the forefront of all this innovation, but it doesn't try to hide the reality either.
Right. No job is perfect.
Exactly. This can be physically demanding work. You're outside in all kinds of weather. And yeah, the guide even mentions possible exposure to chemicals and sometimes the hours can be a little unpredictable depending on what needs to get done. It's not always, sunshine and roses.
More like mud in early mornings, I bet.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, I guess that's part of the adventure, right? Seems like you'd need to be pretty resilient to really thrive doing this.
Absolutely. But for anyone who loves to work with their hands, is into science, and wants to actually see their work make a difference, it can be a really rewarding career.
Okay, so let's say someone listening is like, sign me up, I want to be an ag tech. Where do they even begin?
Well, it probably won't surprise you that a strong science background is going to be pretty important.
Right, makes sense.
I mean, we're talking biology, chemistry, the fundamentals.
Yeah, for sure.
Sets the foundation.
I'm looking at this section in the guide, though. It's called Academic Pathways, and honestly, it's a lot broader than I would have guessed.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah. Obviously, agriculture is on the list, but there's also aquaculture, environmental science, even statistics. Like, what? I did not see that coming.
It might seem kind of out of left field, but these days, data is everything, and that includes agriculture.
Oh, that's true.
All that tech we were talking about, like the drones, the sensors, all of that.
Right.
It generates mountains of data, and somebody's got to analyze it all.
It's like big data, but for dirt.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool.
That's where ag technicians who also have, that analytical number crunching side come in.
It's not just about getting your hands dirty. It's about using your brain, too, huh?
It's both.
So we talked about the academic side, but this guide also mentions certifications, like becoming a CCA or a CPAG.
Yeah.
Those sound intense.
They're not just like made up initials or anything.
Okay, good to know.
They actually mean something, like in the real world.
I mean, they sound pretty official, so I would hope so.
CCA is Certified Crop Advisor, and CPAG is Certified Professional Agronomist.
Okay.
And having those certifications shows that you have, specialized knowledge and skills.
So it's kind of like leveling up your ag tech skills.
Exactly.
I like it.
It can really help you stand out when you're applying for jobs or even, down the line if you're thinking about getting a promotion.
It's like, look at these bad boys. I know my stuff.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So speaking of, like, moving up, what does that actually look like in this kind of career? Like, is it pretty straightforward, or are there different paths you could take?
Yeah, so it's actually more dynamic than you might expect.
Okay.
The guide kind of breaks down the typical career stages, starting with entry-level positions, then moving up to junior and senior roles. And eventually, you could even become like a principal agricultural technician.
Wow, principal ag tech.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty official.
But what I find really interesting is how the work itself actually changes as you gain more experience.
Right, because you're not going to be, like, entry level forever.
Right, exactly.
So how does it change?
So you might start off being very hands-on, like you're saying, getting your boots dirty.
Yeah, get in the mud.
But as you climb the ladder, the focus shifts more towards leadership.
Interesting.
You might find yourself designing research projects, managing a whole team of ag techs, or even like influencing the bigger picture of sustainable agriculture.
Whoa, okay, so you could go from literally planting seeds to shaping, like, how we feed the world.
Yeah. I mean, the guide even mentions publishing research papers, which isn't something you usually associate with a technician type of role.
Right, you think more like professors and stuff.
Exactly. But it just goes to show that ag technicians are really on the cutting edge. They're making discoveries, pushing boundaries.
It's not just about like doing the work. They're actually figuring stuff out.
Yeah, and all that work they do directly impacts how we grow food in the future.
Man, when you think about it like that, it's kind of a lot of pressure, huh?
It's a big responsibility for sure, but it's also what draws a lot of people to this line of work, you know?
Yeah, like that sense of purpose.
Exactly. That feeling that your work actually matters, that you're making a tangible difference in the world. That's huge for a lot of folks.
You know, going through all this stuff about ag technicians, it really makes you realize, like, there's so much more to it than you'd think.
I know, right? It's one of those fields that kind of flies under the radar, but it's so crucial.
Totally. We kind of take food for granted, but these are the people making sure we have enough to eat.
It's true. And the guide does a really good job of showing that human side of it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, these aren't just job descriptions, they're real people who are passionate about what they do.
It's cool because you can tell they actually care about making a difference.
Exactly. And that comes through loud and clear in the guide.
It's pretty inspiring, honestly.
It is. These are the people figuring out how to feed a growing planet in a way that's actually sustainable. Like, that's a big deal.
Sure, sure. This whole deep dive has really shown me that this career path is like this perfect blend of science and, I don't know, like,
Yeah, totally.
it's not just about the work itself. It's about, like, the impact it has on the world.
Absolutely. And for anyone listening who's like, yeah, I love science, but I also want to do something that matters, like, this could be it, you know?
Seriously. It's clear that we need more skilled ag technicians, like all the time.
Yeah.
And it's only going to become more important in the future.
100%.
Who knows? Maybe someone listening to this right now will be the one to come up with the next big breakthrough in like how we grow food.
Wouldn't that be awesome? That's a great point to end on.
Right. I think we covered a lot of ground, but this is really just the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. This deep dive was just to give you a taste, you know? But if something sparked your interest, that's when the real exploration begins.
Love it. So there you have it, folks, our deep dive into the world of agricultural technicians. We hope you learned something new and maybe even got a little inspired to check it out for yourselves. Until next time, stay curious.